Hey, you made it to Simple Plan Trucking. Welcome. If you enjoy our channel, please subscribe by giving us a like and clicking the thumbs up. Also, click on the bell to be alerted when we release new content.
And if you're interested in joining the Prime family, follow the link in our description box below to driveforprime.com. When filling out your application, use our referral code GRAJDA. Reach out to us with any questions that you may have or call our Prime recruiter, Barbara Brown, at 417-521-3915.
Finally, we ask you to share our channel with friends and family who may be interested in trucking as a career. What we really want is to help people set and achieve goals they never thought possible. Let's get this video rolling.
Let's roll.
Hello friends, this is Captain Dave and Ms Brooke with Simple Plan Trucking. Welcome back to the channel. We are here in Springfield, Missouri, and we're on a stop for a long load all the way from California over to New Jersey. It's been a while. It's been a hectic, probably almost 2 weeks now. We started this adventure a couple weeks ago. The last videos we posted was when we were in Salt Lake City. We met some other drivers, a couple, a solo driver. There was actually a bunch of nice people that we met. Didn't get pictures of all of them, but as we like to talk about, it's great to meet people out on the road, get to know them. We feel like we make friends, and we see them. We bump into a lot of people all the time. Prime really is a pretty small world. But today, I want to just give you a recap on where we've been, what we've been doing since we were in Salt Lake City, and then we're going to talk about DOT inspection issues, some things that can get you in trouble. When we do our pre-trip inspections, when we're new truck drivers, I can still consider us new truck drivers. We can do that pre-trip every day, and we can go through the pre-trip just the way it's taught to us, and we can say the words. But really, we don't really know what we're looking at. If you're not a mechanical person and you've never been under trucks, I'm going to go over some things that were found on our truck that, at first it made me feel really bad because I'm like, wow, I should have caught that stuff. But nobody really tells you what to look at when you're checking the items. For instance, your springs, your leaf springs. Thanks. Leaf springs have shifted. That was one of them. So I've taken some pictures, and we'll explain some of that to you in just a little bit. But just to recap on where we've been since Salt Lake City, we were there for actually 4 or 5 days. We got there and we went through the inspection bay, the quick inspection bay, because we had a front light, the fog light on the left-hand side in the front had been collecting water for a while. There was about 2 inches of standing water in the light. I don't know if there's a crack in the light or around the seal or what. The light still worked, but there was water in there, and we knew that was going to be an issue that we needed to get fixed. So we went through there, and sure enough, they said, yeah, you need to have that light replaced. It's going to be a warranty issue. I said, oh, great. But you have quite a few other things that we found in the inspection, and 3 of them were DOT issues, or issues that we couldn't leave the yard until they were corrected because they would be DOT violations if we were to be pulled over and have an inspection. So I was glad that they found them. And at that time I was like, yeah, great, go ahead and get it fixed. And then we found out that they weren't going to be able to get us in until Tuesday morning. And this was, I think, Saturday morning. When
it was like a 3-day wait.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, so we were really bummed out about that because the plan was to bring this load over. It was a longer load for a team, but our fleet manager said we could drop the load on the Springfield yard and get another load out of there and turn right around and keep on rolling. So it really put a damper on things. It gave us a bad week on the Utah, Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
What did I say? Sorry, I meant Salt Lake City is where we were. So we found out Saturday that we were going to have to wait 3 days basically, and
we had an appointment till 2 in the morning.
The appointment was
2 days later.
2 a.m. on Tuesday. So we made good use of the time. We met people, we made content for the channel, you know, we got some laundry done. We did all the things that we could so that we'd be ready to roll when we get back out. But still, it was a long 3 days. And so after we did get out of there, we took a load. Believe it or not, the load that we brought onto the yard 3 days later was still there. And that was the load that they had us pick up and take on to Logan, Utah, which was about 80 miles away. We dropped that load without incident. And then the next load we got was out of Colorado. We dropped down to Colorado and got a load over to Michigan. I think that was a dry load. And then we went to Reed City, Michigan on the 4th. And we picked up a yogurt load bound for California. That was a pretty good paying load. Got out to California, dropped that in Carson, California, and then we were slowed down again. We got a load which initially seemed like a good load, and pay-wise it was fantastic. But as it turned out, there was about a 300-mile deadhead. We had to go to Northern California, up around San Francisco from LA. So 300 some miles up to there. And then there were 3 pickups in California before we could get out of the state. And, we're not experts on the produce thing. I think a lot of people get those loads and they see the big money and they jump at it. But produce loads many times don't have appointment times when they ask you to agree to take it, which is can be a recipe for disaster. We started to roll up there, thought we had plenty of time. I got up in the middle of the night to drive up to our 01, and then 3 hours before we were at the 01, the appointment came in saying that we needed to be there in 2 hours. So, nobody wants to get a service failure or be late to an appointment, but it really was not a fair situation. They didn't give us the appointment till the last minute. So we raced on up there. We did get there one hour late, but they didn't care at all because guess what? The produce wasn't there anyway. And we had to sit all day after racing all the way up there. We had to sit until 5 o'clock because they were waiting on. They had 2 pallets. This was our first drop. They had 2 pallets and they were waiting on the 3rd pallet of strawberries, which they waited all day for. So we got out of there about 5 o'clock, and then we dropped, about 3 hours, maybe about 150 miles south to Santa Ana, California, for another load of strawberries, which we got that early in the morning the next day. I mean, like dark 30. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning when we got out of there. And then we rolled on down to our 03, which was in Riverside, California, and we waited yet again to get out of there. Just waited for them to load the produce up, filled up the truck. There was a discrepancy. They put a lot more freight on the truck than the bill said that they were supposed to. But in the end,
they loaded us and unloaded us because they thought we were somebody else.
Yeah.
And then they tried to. They came out and finally told us that after we'd been waiting for a few hours that they were waiting on some lettuce to show up, and they were late. The lettuce people were late.
Yeah.
And he said, just go hang out for a couple hours because he had no idea when it was coming.
So, all that to say, this produce load, while on the surface it seems great and it's a lot of money, it's really not when you figure that we're a team and it's going to take us about 5 or 6 days to get over here.
I still think it's good money. I think it just took a long time.
Right. I mean, you have to question whether you drive all the way over to California with a mediocre load to get a good load coming back, but one that has so much time on it. There's really enough time almost for a solo driver to make this across the country. Close, maybe not quite enough time, but in any event, we're here. Instead of driving all the way over to New Jersey and trying to find somewhere to park for about 24 hours.
Because we were going to arrive a day early.
Yeah, we would have been there a day early. We stopped here in Springfield, made good use of the time. We today, Brooke had a chiropractic appointment and a massage. How was that massage?
Massage was rough. It was a great massage, but boy, he's strong.
So,
his name is Jake, and he's very strong, and I would suggest going to him if you need a massage.
So Jake really put it on you, huh?
Yeah, he do massage.
Deep tissue massage, and before that she had a chiropractic appointment where the guy popped her neck 3 or 4 different ways.
About ripped my head off.
She says he about ripped her head off, but it's still on. I checked, everything's still okay. Her head is still in place.
But it was a good day because I feel better now that it's the end of the day and it's all said and done.
And you do feel better, so that's great. That's great. And then
And you took me out to eat.
well, first we did something else first, right? Where'd we go when we left the terminal?
Oh yeah, we went to Stripes and stuff.
Stripes and stuff.
We
Let me have that picture of our truck over there. We met with the graphic artist at Stripes and Stuff, starting to talk about the concept for our Simple Plan truck that we ordered. We did order the Pete last week, so we're well on our way. It'll get here in September. I'm going to show you a little picture here. This isn't real exciting, except that maybe you can see the color of our truck. It's off-white. I don't know how it looks in the light yet. It's like an eggshell. It's LG005 for any of you that are interested. So that'll be the base color of the truck. And we're still working on the graphics. I don't know if I'll share that with you right now. I think I'd rather have you see the reveal when it comes out.
We're still working on it.
We're still working on it. We are going with kind of like a retro 70s theme because we both kind of dig that era, and Brooke's kind of a hippie. So I already warned Lyle at No Hippie Trucking that our truck is going to look like all hippie trucking when we get done. And
You say that, but I feel like it just kind of has a beachy feel.
it will. We're putting some Florida elements in it, a beach kind of a feel, and we're excited because it'll be our first truck that we bought, and we'll get to design it. And hey, we'll be living in it for at least 3 years, so we need to make it as much like home as we can. So that's really where we are right now. We're going to deliver this load. We're driving out tonight about midnight, and we deliver at 7 a.m. on Sunday morning. They do allow overnight parking there, so we'll get there early, sometime in the early morning of Sunday, sometime after midnight, park the truck. We'll deliver at 7, and then we're going to be looking for a load south. We're going home to Florida.
After how many weeks have we been out?
Well, we've been
How
out.
many months?
We've been out a long time, but we did have 2 short little breaks, 2 couple day breaks. You know, when my dad was sick and here and there. So, but we have not been home since at least 10 weeks. We've been out at least 10 weeks. Probably our longest run ever, and we're both ready. We're both feeling a little salty. We're ready to get off the truck and relax a little bit, although we'll be doing a lot of chores when we get down there. So what I want to talk, though, now I want to come back to these things that we found when we were in Salt Lake City with the truck and the inspection. And like I said, I felt kind of bad because they seemed pretty serious. And I was like, wow, you know, I had no idea that there's, and then we do our inspections, but unless you really know what you're looking for, you're not going to catch it. So I took some pictures of the things. I had the guy kind of explain to me and point out where they were. I'm going to try my best to insert these pictures as I talk about what the issues are, and so you can learn from it. It'll be a great opportunity for anyone else that's new that doesn't know. You can check on your own truck, especially with this Blitz week coming up next week. I thought the timing was kind of critical for you to check some of these things out and make sure that you're all right. So there were several non-DOT items and several DOT items. Both of them I was happy that they found, because guess what? You know, this truck we're going to turn in September, and the more we identify now and get fixed, the less expense we're going to have later on, right before we turn in the truck and get hit with it. So we had 8 non-DOT items, or things that you can just get fixed whenever you want to. And then we had 3 DOT items that were so serious that we couldn't leave the yard until they were corrected.
Leave the yard with a trailer.
With a trailer, yeah. They let us bobtail out, you know, and go out and run errands and stuff, but you can't go under load from the yard. So I'm going to cover first the non-DOT items, just tell you what they were. They won't be as important to you, but they are things probably that commonly get loose or go wrong on the truck. The first one was the deer guard, and it was loose. We knew it was loose. You could take our deer guard and kind of shake it back and forth. It wasn't it was still fastened, and the little cotter pins were in there to hold it in place, but it's not supposed to be loose at all. So what he told me was they needed to get behind the deer guard from the other side where it's attached to the frame, and need to tighten those bolts down. It's still a little loose, but it's much better than it was. So that was corrected, and that was a Prime issue covered by Prime. It was a warranty or nothing we were charged for. Also, the left-hand door mirror, the one on the passenger side that looks down on the ground, it had been loose, and we know it had been loose for a while. They said they fixed it, but when I checked it, it's still a little loose, so we probably need to have that tightened even more. The right-hand splash shield was cracked, and I didn't know what that was, but if you look behind your wheel, this is behind the steer tire, there's a splash guard back there, and it had a crack in it, just a big piece of black plastic, and it was a big crack. It was long. The guard was like cracked in half. It wasn't a DOT item, but what he told me was that can happen from anything. He said it can happen from rocks jumping up and hitting it. It can happen from hitting potholes really, really hard. It could crack it. So he said this is something that we see all the time. So that had to be replaced, and we ended up paying for that. The left-hand fog light had water in it. I already mentioned that. He took the water out and the light worked fine. I don't think he replaced it, but he did tell me that it's a warranty issue, that if it does have to be replaced before you turn the truck in, it'll be covered by Prime, so we're not too worried about that. Our mud flap on the back of the tractor, right-hand side, was just crooked, like it had hit something, so it needed to be straightened. It was warped. I'm not sure. Did they change it? Do you know?
They gave us 2 new ones.
We got 2 new mud flaps. We only needed one, but maybe they changed them both at the same time. But I think that's something that I had to pay for. So then the TPMS. Don't ask me what TPMS stands for, but the little antenna that's on the back of the trailer, right in the middle, behind the wheels, behind the rear axle, it was loose. It was still attached, but it was a little bit loose, so they tightened that up.
Did you get a picture of that one?
I don't know. I don't remember, but I'll see if I did. I'll send it in.
You never showed me what it was.
Okay, I think I did. When I show you, you'll be like, oh yeah. And then the black cab extenders that are behind the cab of the truck, there were 2 brackets. 2 of the brackets were broken, probably from some time when I backed into a trailer or something like that, tried to do a hookup. But those had to be replaced. I'm sure I paid for that too. And then my towel bar was bent, probably from one of the times that the trailer was too high and I backed into the reefer unit and it bent it. He didn't replace that. He straightened it somewhat, but it's still a little bent. So I'm going to let him know, if that's something that I was charged for, I'm going to make sure that they replace that when I go back again. So those were the non-DOT items. The 3 bigger items, the DOT items that shut us down, both steer brakes were cracked and separated. And this one really bothered me because you spend a lot of time when you're going through training, checking your brakes. And we do check our brakes. And so for us to roll in to have something checked and they do an inspection and say, oh, both of your steer brakes were cracked and separated, that sounds pretty serious. He said it's not that serious. It says your brakes were not going to fail, but they did need to be replaced. So he replaced them, not a problem. But he showed me what it is and what it looks like, so that you need to know this, because if I hadn't caught that and been pulled in for an inspection, I would have got a DOT violation for that.
It would have been me who
gotten a ticket for it. Yeah, Brooke drives during the day, so it would have been her that they would have found that on. So that was one. The second thing was the left front drive and left rear drive S-cam U-bolt was loose. So I didn't really understand. I didn't remember the S-cam, how it attaches to the U-bolt, but it's a little bolt that's in front of the U-bolt. I'll show you. You'll be able to see it in the picture better than I can explain it. But it was loose, and it just needed to be tightened up, and that was a warranty issue. The biggest thing was the right-hand leaf spring had shifted and was rubbing against the shackle. Now, I remember saying a million times, make sure that the leaf springs are not shifted. And I always imagined that the pieces of metal that are on top of each other would have been shifted left or right. In my mind, that was what I imagining was that it shifted. But really, the whole leaf spring can shift to the left or the right on the shackle or the piece of metal that it attaches to at either end. And he showed me it was over to the side, and he said when it does that, it can rub against that shackle and cause friction and possibly cause a problem. So that just had to be replaced, and that was a warranty issue as well. So those three things shut us down for three days after we found out about them, and really put a hurting on us for the week. We didn't make much money at all last week. We did have one good load in, but that pretty much paid our expenses. So just like they say, that's trucking. There's good weeks and bad weeks. We have some exceptional weeks, and then we have weeks like that where we don't make money. But overall, we're still doing well over the long term.
When we left there, didn't I get my inspection?
Yeah, but it was just a paperwork inspection.
I know, but it still got pulled in. It could have been.
Could have been. Brooke passed another level 3 inspection. We can all rest assured that she's handling her logs
When I got pulled in, though, I felt good about getting pulled in because I was like, we just had an inspection. We just had an overhaul on our truck, so there's a pretty good chance that no matter what they throw at me, I'm going to pass.
That's a good point. Yeah. So I would encourage you guys, go through that assessment bay occasionally, even if you have something small that's wrong with your truck. Go get it checked out and have them go through and do the whole inspection for you. I didn't even ask him to do that. He said, I'm just going to do an inspection on your truck. I said, cool, okay. And guess what? All that stuff together cost me $1,500. It cost that much to fix those things that were not warranty issues, parts and labor, and that hurts. When you're not expecting it, you don't want to have to pay that money. But I still came away feeling that I'm glad that I had those things fixed now, so that in 4 months from now, 5 months from now, when we have the inspection again, there should be very few things wrong with the truck. We've been driving this truck now for a year and a month, and we just went over our
200,000 miles.
200,000 miles.
13 and a half months.
13 and a half months. We didn't do it in a year, but nearly a year. 13 and a half months we drove 200,000 miles. So, and I would say we drove pretty hard in our first year. When I averaged that out, I don't remember. I'll have to do the math again, but it was pretty significant for the weeks that we drove. That we drove pretty hard. So
we probably took a week off every other month. Every 2 months.
Every 6 to 8 weeks. Every 6 to 8 weeks. We
8
didn't.
to 10 weeks.
No, we only did 10 weeks one time. We did 6 weeks like twice, but typically our run is about 8 weeks before we go home. And so I look to work 40 weeks out of the year and be home 12, which would be 3 months. That's if you go home every 8 weeks and take 1 week off. That's how it works out for the year.
We only stay home a week.
Only stay home a week. Sometimes 8 days. If our time off ends on a Sunday, I don't like to roll out on a Sunday. We'll wait till Monday to get a load out of there because we'll generally get more freight than we will on a Sunday. But that's really what I wanted to talk about today. I'm going to go back and insert some of the pictures. And listen, if you guys have some things that you've learned along the way after going through your CDL, getting your CDL and passing the test, specific things to look for, talk about them, put them up there. Let's get it out there for everybody because, we're all in this together, right? We're all in this together. Don't forget that. And we can all learn from the mistakes, and we're all learning along the way. So that's all I have for today. Anything from you? Feeling good?
I'm tired.
Tired. Yeah, those massages will take a lot out of you for sure.
It's more than the massages. We've been going.
Yeah, it's 10 weeks on the road. We're definitely ready for a break. And the good news is we're going to be busy at home, but we're hoping to do some of those poolside videos for you. Talk about some of our activities that are happening at the house, maybe some of our freeze drying. I know I'm planning to drill a shallow well at the house so that we'll have water from a hand pump and maybe I can do a video on that.
Yay.
And we'll see how successful I am with it, but I have high hopes. Well, that's it. This is Captain Dave and Ms Brooke with Simple Plan Trucking. Be safe out there, and we'll be talking to you again real soon. Bye.
Bye, y'all.